Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah, and here on my channel I post lifestyle, university, and physiotherapy related content. So if you're interested, let me just subscribe, turn the notification bell to all so you never miss a video. Today I'm speaking with Laura, and we're going to look at her journey to physiotherapy. Yeah, would you like to say anything about introduce yourself?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Laura. I run my own little physio studygram page at Laura Physio Studies. And I've very excitingly just finished my course in the last few weeks, finished my master's. So currently on Christmas holidays and then off to start in the adult world, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
So very exciting.
Yeah, fair enough. Got a lot going on there, I see. So
Yeah, definitely.
which university did you go to?
So I did my physio at the University of Southampton, did the master's course. So yeah.
Yeah, I hear that's it's very different in comparison to my course, because I know you guys start in January, whereas I start in September. So I
Yeah,
don't know how
I
that.
don't really know why, but it worked quite well for me because in between my undergrad and the masters, it gave me like 6 months or so off. So I was able to do a bit of work and a bit of money and things, which was really nice.
Yeah, fair
And just
enough.
have a bit of a break as well. So
Mm,
I don't know why they do it like that, but I quite liked it. So
yeah. No, for me, I opted to pick obviously the longer break, wanted the full year.
yeah,
So I was like,
no, that's fair
that
enough.
works best for me in comparison. And I just couldn't. To be fair, I graduated in the pandemic, so having the idea of going into studying in the pandemic, I was like, I
Yeah,
just got out of studying in the pandemic. I'm like, not trying to dive back into it. I need the break,
no, definitely
so
not.
I took a break in that
Yeah,
moment. Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
crazy. So you're finished, which is yay,
yeah.
congratulations to you. So
Thank you.
you did the MSc, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So that's also 2 years, just like mine, right?
yeah,
Oh, nice. That's not too bad, yeah. So, what would you
yeah.
say the structure of your degree was? Because I feel like ours is very different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as we just said, it runs January to January, but I have pretty much all of my classes with the BSc, the undergrad students as well.
Oh,
So there's about 20 of us on my course and then 40 or so of them. So we're sort of a group of 60 of us, which is quite nice because you really get to know each other and sort of help each other out, which is nice. We have normal stuff, lots of different modules, but at Southampton it's split into the different specialties. So we have like a cardiorespiratory module, an MSK module, a neuro module, which I think is quite good. And so we do little bits of it all at the same time. So it's not like you do MSK and then that's it, you move on. It's what they call it a spiral curriculum, I suppose. So you keep coming back to the same content.
oh,
How many placements did I have? I was meant to have 5 placements, but unfortunately because of COVID, one of them was just cancelled,
oh, that's
which was a shame. Yeah. But no, I've really enjoyed the course. Obviously a bit different with
yeah.
COVID, but still managed to make the most of it, I think. So yeah.
It kind of sounds like the course is definitely really different into comparison to how Birmingham does it. The way Birmingham does it is kind of just so in our first year we learn pretty much all of our content. In first year we
Yeah.
have 3 placements. One of them is a nursing placement, so that one I'll have that in March. And then
Yeah.
what else do we have? We have 2 physio placements in our first year.
Yeah.
With the modules, we had a transition to physio module, and that was it was all right. We do step 2, but I'm not gonna lie, it was all right. It's like a pass or fail module.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just one of them to help you okay, this is what you have to do, understand what CPD is and stuff
Yeah.
like that,
I mean,
really.
useful, but a bit
Yeah,
boring. Yeah.
pretty much it's it could have been an email, but it's just one of those ones, modules. We have MSK, and that continues for the whole year. And
Yeah.
then what's it called, therapeutic rehabilitation. That was 1 semester. Research methods, I don't even dive into that. But yeah, we're going to be going on to cardiorespiratory and neuro,
Yeah.
which we'll do alongside each other. So I do find that things do cross over quite a bit, which I find
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely very helpful having that.
Mm.
But so you already spoke about the structure and the mixture of all that.
Mm.
What would you say was your favorite placement and why?
Ooh. That's really tricky. I think I've been quite lucky that I've enjoyed all of my placements for different reasons. So my first placement was major trauma and orthopedics at Southampton General Hospital, which was really good because it was Southampton is a major trauma centre, so you have
Yeah.
unfortunately really broken people, but that makes it very interesting. So there was like several patients that had broken it, like practically every bone in their body, and then it's like, well, how do we get them to move when they're not allowed to weight bear through any limb, but they can't just lie in bed the whole time? And so it's very interesting, sort of, and the psychological aspects. And yeah, I really enjoyed that placement. Then my second placement was community neuro, so early supported discharge for people that had a stroke. Again, I was a bit apprehensive about community, but I really, really enjoyed going into people's houses and having a little bit of an extra longer session with them, and really getting to know like the patient and their families. And because all the patients were at a certain level of like physical ability, it meant that we could do really fun treatment sessions at sort of like a higher level stuff, like balance and strengthening and things. So again, like really enjoyed that. Then I had MSK outpatients, which was my most challenging placement. Because it was right at January 2021, with right at the height of the pandemic. But also I'm just not an MSK physio. It doesn't stick in my mind. But I was able to go and do quite a lot of stuff with all the pregnant ladies that were coming in. I'm really interested in women's health as a potential career sort of area, so I just tried to focus on that and just kind of just made the best of a bad situation.
You found your area that you really like, because I see you do post quite a bit about women's health, and I was like, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it entails, because I feel like everybody just assumes, okay, so I think we both came from a sports background, so that I feel like when we come from a sports background, everyone assumes, oh, you're gonna go into MSK, and it's like, no, like I already knew.
And I thought I was,
I
was
know,
like,
I knew
sport, that's what I want to do. Got on the course, I was like, oh no, please no.
So. No, like, before even getting on the course, and when it came to doing my not play, because I've done placement, but when I did my shadowing to get into uni, I like worked with some stroke patients, and I was like, I want to do neuro. So like doing MSK this semester, I'm just like, okay, like people like, I love this, and I'm like, no, I'm here to get a grade. That's like neuro. Let's go. Like in that sense, but maybe that would change with placements, but I can't see that changing. But like, what is women's health exactly?
So women's health, so I guess it's kind of like an umbrella term. So you've got women's health and men's health, which is classed as like pelvic health generally, just to make it more gender neutral, because men have pelvic floors as well as women. So, but yeah, broadly, there are lots of different aspects to it. So there's a side all looking at incontinence and managing incontinence, whether that's like stress incontinence or other types, depending on obviously what's causing it in the first place. Then they do a lot with pregnant ladies, whether that's antenatally, so before they've had their baby, or postnatally after. Again, looking at pelvic floor strengthening, looking at the rectus diastasis muscles, and lots of other things depending on each lady's specific issues. But I think it's really a really important area, because, as I said, both men and ladies have pelvic floors that can be weak and then cause problems. But it's such a taboo area that people just don't talk about. But the amount of people that I've met, like as patients and things, that you suddenly realize like how much of an impact having urinary incontinence like has on their life, and they don't necessarily realize that actually physio is a really effective like treatment for it in some cases. And then the change that these ladies and men have to the quality of their life just from like a relatively simple intervention, I just think that's amazing, and we should talk about it more, and more people should be doing their pelvic floor exercises.
Because you definitely like when I was hearing about pelvic floor exercises, I was like, oh, I do some of them without even thinking about it. But then it's like I didn't ever think a physio would be involved in that. I was just assuming, okay, if someone's having an issue with their pelvic floor, you go to a surgeon or like something like that. You get that medic, like, you know, that side of things sorted out. I didn't assume it would be something that a physio could actually assist you in. So it's pretty interesting to see the different areas a physio can go into. And
definitely, because they can help with like bowel bowel issues and things as well. Because the pelvic floor muscles are muscles, and so they can be strengthened. But conversely, some people have what's called like a hypertonic, so overworking pelvic floor, and so actually they need to do relaxation, not strengthening. So physios kind of assess as to which way round that particular patient is, and then but I just people should talk about it more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would definitely be talking about it to people now. I'll be like, did you know about it? And they'll be like, right, we're eating. And I'll be like, but did you do that exercise?
It's exactly me at all my family gatherings, like my grandparents. I'm like, right, so.
Yeah, I mean, what's it called? Now, like, obviously you graduated, but like, for me, I always get them ones where, you know, you meet people and they're, oh, so you're physio. I've got this issue with my, and I'm like, hey.
And I'm like,
right.
no, I don't care about your shoulder.
Like, literally, I get told, I'm not even qualified for this. And it's like, what do you do in the upper body? Because my elbow hurts. And I'm like, well, then stop doing what makes it hurt. I'm like, I'm like, what do you expect from me? But so what path did you take that led you to physio? Like, what were your A-levels, D-Tech, or so on and so forth?
Yeah, so I did A-levels. I did PE, biology, English literature, and chemistry.
Oh, nice.
They were my A-levels, a nice mix.
I know those were the A-levels I originally wanted to pick, but I didn't get into A-levels, so I was like, dang it.
Oh.
Yeah, other than
chemistry,
I wanted to do history.
I hated chemistry. When I did my A-levels, I was in the year that did AS levels, so chemistry was my AS that I dropped as soon as I could. But no, so did that, and then I went to the University of Exeter to do sports science with biomedical science, which I absolutely loved. Really, really interesting. Because I knew that I wanted to do physio before I did my undergrad, but I just wanted like a bit of time to learn more about science in general, healthcare, medicine, and also to then go and get some like practical experience working in the NHS. So I knew that I could do it as a master's, or do another undergrad if I didn't get onto the master's. So and then I worked as a healthcare assistant all throughout my undergrad in holidays and things. I worked in ED, in the emergency department, which I loved, on a trauma and orthopedic ward, and on a really specialist cancer oncology ward to do with abdominal cancers, which was really, really interesting. So I got to work quite closely with all the physios on those wards.
So you took definitely a journey, because similarities in our journeys. I mean, I didn't do A-levels, but I dropped AS. I did AS citizenship. It's because I did level 3 BTEC sport, and then they were like, you have to do an A-level or something alongside it. So I was like, okay, AS citizenship. It was eye-opening, but it wasn't for me, so I didn't continue it.
No.
But in terms of knowing that you wanted to be a physio before undergrad, I was the exact same. I knew from secondary school that I wanted to be a physio, but then in my case, I didn't get the grades, so I couldn't do it as an undergrad. But I'm so glad I took the path I've taken now. I wouldn't want it any other way at this point.
No, and I think all of whatever experiences you manage to get, it helps to shape you into who you're then going to become as a physio, which I know is very cliched, but it's very true. So it
is very true. It does shape you. It really does shape you as a person. So do you say that your prior qualifications really helped you, prepared you for the masters, or was it just okay, I know this, but I don't know how this is gonna?
I think I was quite lucky because my undergrad was, as I said, sports science with biomedical science. So the sports science side has been really useful for MSK stuff, anatomy and physiology, and the science behind muscle healing and regeneration and things. But then the biomed side is all the cardiorespiratory and neuro side of things, about how the heart and the lungs work, how why clearing sputum from your chest is a really good thing. So I think I was quite lucky that actually it really complemented going on to physio, that I've sort of covered most of it, and some of it I've covered at a deeper level than the physio degree did. I've forgotten most of it, but
fair enough.
It's still useful.
Because I have a friend of Michael, she did biology as an undergrad, and certain things that we've been talking about in class, she'd be like, but it does that. I'm like, we're physio, we don't need that. Okay, you're going to
no, exactly.
we don't need to know that. Don't complicate my mind. Like literally, I just know
No.
how to this. I don't need to go down there.
Yeah, that's like when we learned about Parkinson's, for example, and like looking at the in the brain, you know, why you lose your dopaminergic receptors and
Yeah.
things. I did like practically a whole module on that at my undergrad, and so I had like all these like notes that were like so detailed. And I remember asking my lecturer a question, and she was like, "Laura, like, what are you going on about? Like, you don't need to know it in that much detail." It's like,
Oh,
but I was taught it before. I feel like I need to know it now. And she was like, no, you
yeah.
don't.
No, I've heard that about certain things. Like I find Parkinson's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I did a topic on like an essay on it in my undergrad, and ever since then I'm like, ooh, what about this with Parkinson's? What about that with Parkinson's? And I'm like, I think that's also like down the neuro path where I'm not really interested in that. I just find
Yeah.
like looking at the whole like not like just a holistic approach, but like everything in general, like
Mm.
how everything works together, the shape of person,
Yeah.
and like how if you improve them in this aspect, you'll improve that aspect. So I feel like, especially coming
Mm.
from sports science, where it's you're more of a scientific method type person. Like it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is that you're gonna have find one answer for this, and there's no other answer for that. Whereas like now I'm like, but how about this? And people are like, no,
And I think that's so good because
yeah,
everything, you know, a certain treatment approach isn't going to work for everybody.
yeah,
And so to be able to have like a toolbox of stuff that you can then apply and work out what that specific patient needs, is, yeah, a much better approach,
yeah,
definitely.
it's definitely. I'm glad someone else
Yeah.
agrees with me because I'm always arguing. I'm like, but the science says that this works, but how does the person feel? Did they feel
Yeah.
like it
And
works?
not,
And people are
yeah,
like, it doesn't matter. I'm like,
exactly.
but it does.
I know it really does. And also like the science changes all the time. So
Yeah,
like if we've got this like one really fancy treatment, like that's great. But what if in like 10 years we show that actually it doesn't do what we want it to do?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, no, much better to have a selection to pick from.
Definitely. I definitely agree there. But back to your degree, would you say that you were able
Hmm.
to balance like your life outside of uni, or was it just like uni is my life?
Um, I'm one of those really annoying people that does like sport. I do music. I do lots of like different things. So I think I, it's tricky because like, I think whilst on placement, for example, placement was basically my life for
Yeah.
those 6 weeks. I didn't really have time to do much else because you're just really tired when you get home, and then you have to do like a little bit more studying sometimes. And I still like went to gym classes or
Yeah.
whatever, but not to the same extent. But I think generally I do manage to balance it quite well. I've got like a planner, and like my calendar's like all
My
written
kind of
out. I have
people.
to-do lists. Yeah.
Yeah.
I live by my calendar.
Yeah, I'm the
But
exact same.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, if it's
I
not on the
think
calendar,
it's so important, yeah, to have a balance. And so yeah, I plan in my like fun activities as well as like, right, today I need to do studying. But I tended to try and do like a 9 to 5 working week in
yeah.
terms of studying. So I did uni, whether we had lectures or not, 9 to 5, occasionally till like 6, and then I'd have evenings completely off and weekends mostly off, which I think worked really well for me. Helped me to stop getting quite so burnt out.
Yeah.
So
No, I get that. Completely get that. I think like I'm the exact same. If you saw my calendar's always absolutely full.
yeah,
I'm one of those people. I'm like, it's not on the calendar. Clearly, it wasn't
yeah,
meant to happen.
it doesn't exist. No, exactly.
Yeah, the person who I'll send you a screenshot of my calendar, and I'm just like, pick a date, and
Yeah,
I send you an update, and I'm like, well, that date's gone now.
yeah.
Pick
No,
another
I'm
one. I might
exactly
have
the
to
same.
get like the booking app might need that
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah,
But I think balance is really important because like
yeah,
I
absolutely.
I do a lot. Like, I work
Yeah.
part time as well. So I work in London,
Yeah.
so on the weekends. And then like I still make sure in terms of the 9 to 5 working week, I try and do that. But I feel like it's not always possible. I mean, in my case,
No, no.
but I try to do as much as possible. Like, well, my
Yeah.
version is get all the work done in Birmingham. So then when you come back to work in London on
Yeah.
the weekend, you don't do any uni work. That's purely,
Yeah. No,
that's
exactly.
kind of
That's the
how
way to
I
do it.
balance things out. I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, that's working so far. It's keeping me sane. I feel like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you don't have the balance, you kind of get too sucked in to it all. Like, whether it depends on the person whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But for me,
Yeah.
it will equal burnout or equal like
No, completely.
procrastination to
Yeah.
the highest level. But I'll be like, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
an
what you just
assignment
said
comes
there,
along.
like, exactly. If I know that I've got like, I don't know, a certain amount of time to do an assignment, I will sit down and do it and be like productive. Whereas
Yeah,
if I'm like, oh, well, I've got like 4 weeks, it's a lot harder to try and like schedule it in.
That definitely is a lot harder.
Yeah, but no, I think physio is one of those things that'd be so easy to become completely like all consuming. But actually I don't think that's particularly helpful, and you're never going to learn everything as a student. I know that I'm going to learn so much in the next like 12 months. So I had to like make peace with that in my mind, because I think it's quite hard to accept that you're not going to be able to do it all. So just do what you can. So
enjoy it while you can as well, because uni goes by so quickly.
Oh, definitely.
It's like, I'm a student for once, and then I just know that I'm not sure, like, you mean I highly that you're going to go back to education because you're going to go into working. But for me, I'm just like, no. Have people like, you're going to go do a doctorate? I'm like, no, like, this is it. I'm like,
no, I think, I don't know. So people have asked me if I would do a PhD, and I like the idea of research and like contributing to that and helping to make new treatments or whatever. But I think I know my personality type. I get bored with stuff very quickly, which is quite one of the reasons I like physio, where there's so many different disciplines. And like in between my undergrad and my master's, I was offered a PhD. But I turned it down because I was like, I can't focus on one really specific topic for like a minimum of 4 years. So I think I probably wouldn't do a PhD, but I would contribute to research and maybe do like a clinical academic-y kind of role, where I'm doing like research like 1 or 2 days a week and clinical the rest. Or I don't know, might come back into education as well. I can see myself being a lecturer, but
that way I would be open to that. But in terms of me studying, not open.
No.
No, I'm done.
No,
I'm so done.
No more essays, please.
That is literally me. I just reading articles is just like, I can't. Just, oh my god. And it's like, I'm like interested in the topic, and then like something distracts me, and I'm like, shutting down slowly.
You can't sit and read very many articles in a row. Definitely not.
I've tried.
No.
It just doesn't work. Next thing I wake up and the article's reading me. It's literally, that's kind of how it is. And I'm just like, oh no. Like, what 2 bits of advice would you give someone who wants to go into physio?
I'd say definitely try and get some sort of healthcare related experience. Obviously that's really, really tricky with COVID. And hopefully getting better, but still tricky. But what I say to people is, even if you don't manage to go and get like your typical shadowing a physio in an MSK clinic, even stuff like working in a care home or volunteering in a care home or reading healthcare related books to kind of get a bit of an insight into what it might be like. And there are lots of different things you can do, but I think you do need to be aware of what you're signing yourself up for.
Definitely.
Because healthcare is like tough, like emotionally, patients don't always get better or survive, and that can be really tricky. And so I think you kind of have to be realistic that you can cope with that as well as all like the really exciting, happy things. And so I think by getting some experience, you kind of, it's a little bit of a taster to see whether you can like handle that. And then secondly, what else would I say? Something about like a good application. Try and find something to make yourself stand out on your application, because people read so many of the same, which is fine. But you don't have to have had that experience. Say you're like the, I don't know, club captain of your school hockey team or something. You can say, well, I know that a physio needs to have good teamwork and communication skills, and like, and I do that in my role as blah, 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 blah. Physio people will love practical examples. So if you can say, well, when I did this, I showed that, that's the way to do it. Not just saying I have communication skills. You need to like evidence that.
Definitely.
So I think that'd be that.
That definitely strengthens like your CV as well, or like your personal statement. In that case, is showing that you're a person beyond, just your basic level stuff.
Definitely. And it's more interesting to read as well than just like a list of like characteristics, if you can like prove or give examples of what you've done. And it doesn't have to be really physio related at all. Because yeah, transferable skills are transferable.
Definitely, I definitely agree on that case. But yeah, but thank you for answering my questions.
No, quite all right.
Yeah, was fun. I like this. I'm like, yeah. Oh god, do you have any questions or?
You talked about neuro. Is that potentially what you think you might want to go into?
Yeah,
Or
I think I want to specialize in neuro. I feel like, no offense to the other areas, like the typical areas are like, okay, MSK, no
yeah,
offense to MSK.
yeah,
I'm just gonna call it out. No offense to MSK. I feel like neuro is ever so slightly more rewarding in terms
yeah,
of you see someone come in at the lowest state, or where they think they can't get back to where they were before, and you're there
yeah,
a part of that journey, and you're seeing changes, like, or maybe you may not even see changes, but you're there along with them on the journey. Whereas, like,
yeah.
no offense to MSK, but I feel like you don't really get that bond with the
No, you get
person.
your 6 sessions, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
that.
like you don't really, you know what I mean? But then the only trouble with neuro and you getting that bond is that you may get attached.
Mm,
That's like, you have to make sure you
yeah,
separate that, like you leave work at work, you don't let it
mm,
disappear kind of
yeah,
thing.
definitely.
Yeah, but that's kind of why I was like, neuro is very interesting. I'm like,
Mm,
just everything.
no, and I think what you said about it being rewarding, yeah, absolute, yeah, definitely. It's yeah, nice to be able to see the patient journey, and like, because I think that's the thing with placements as well. Like, you're only there for, well, mine was 6 weeks, but only there for 6 weeks, and then
Hmm.
I'm like, I want to know what happened to my patients. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had to leave, and that's that.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine.
I'm looking forward to that, being able to follow them like, yeah,
Yeah,
a bit
follow the
longer.
journey through them, see them come in and then
Mm,
see them leave, and it's just like,
yeah,
yeah, no,
exactly.
yeah, that'd be absolutely lovely. Oh my god, yeah. Well,